Hey everybody, awesome, glad to have you here at the Spark for the ReIgnite conference. I wanted to do a special introduction here of an amazing friend of mine, super talented cat. He's been doing about everything you could think of for the last 10 years that I've known him. And Rich Redmond lives actually all over the world, I like to say, but primarily in Nashville is where I met him. And I tell you, since I've been here, there's never been a more inspiring person than Rich Redmond. He's got more energy than 10 people. He's doing more things than 20 people. And everything he does is amazing, done with class, done with excellence. He is just a super special, amazing, awesome guy. And if you're looking to, I know some of you out here, a lot of our folks who are speakers and involved with what we're doing here, kicking this off, he is a great talent to have if you've got a corporate gig or if you got anything, man. He's just a great guy to hang around and learn from and just get to know, because there's always great things happening in the universe of Rich Redmond. So again, Rich Redmond, glad to have you here, my brother. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, so I don't even know if you guys saw that video. Good morning, Spark community. How are you doing? Put your hands together. Put your virtual hands together. I'm getting a crash course this morning in this technology, but it's like half video game and half the real world. And I don't know if you saw the intro reel, but it's just a cool way to kind of level the playing field when I'm in middle America somewhere and they're like, MC, we don't have an MC. So I just run the video and that's just so easy to do. But thanks for being here this morning. I'm coming to you from sunny Los Angeles, California. Does everybody have their coffee? I got my coffee in a love mug here. And I see some faces on here. I saw Joe Satriani. Hey, if I haven't met you, I want to meet you, man. And I saw someone else on here, Tina Marie. Hello, that's a pop star from the 80s. We got some royalty in the crowd today. So anyways, I'm going to spend about a half an hour with you guys and gals. I really don't know what your background is. If you're all in the music business or the creative arts, maybe you're in TV and film, maybe you're a like-minded person, you do some speaking, maybe you're a college student or a high school student looking to get into the music business, but I'll just share some hard-earned insights, man. I've been doing this crazy music thing since 1976. I got a little blue sparkle snare drum. Dinosaurs were roaming the earth. I had to dodge a T-Rex to get to my drum lessons, and I've been in love with this thing ever since, so it's been an amazing journey. And the music business, if you're in it, you know it is not for the faint of heart. It is probably one of the most difficult industries on the planet. There are no rules. There is no direct path from A to B. It is the wild west, and you kind of have to create your own path. It's been an amazing journey. Along the way, I came up with this concept called CRASH, very appropriate for a drummer. But CRASH is an acronym, and it stands for commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. Commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. 5 things, 5 simple things that anyone from any walk of life, in any season of their life, can use to attract more success to their personal and professional life. Because let's face it, those things cross-pollinate. People take their personal life into the boardroom and vice versa. And so if we can get everyone centered and using these 5 things collectively, you can use any one of these things, but you use them these 5 things together with perfect synergy, you're going to be able to write your ticket to success. Now, I've been speaking and teaching for a long time, and I finally, after 12 years of being a keynote speaker, put out the book. And so there's the book. They said, make sure you hold it in a very professional, sexy way, Rich, but there it is. There it is. Crash Course for Success, 5 ways to supercharge your personal and professional life. And it's available in 3 formats. You know, everyone needs to write a book now. Why? Because Jeff Bezos has made it so easy for everyone to be an author. So that can come to your front porch in dead tree form. You can download it to your Kindle or iPad, or with these soothing pipes of mine, you can get onto audible.com and I will read you the book while you're on your treadmill or in your commute. Or I'm not commuting much these days, but I do get out every day and run 5 miles, and that feels good. That's how I'm fighting the pandemic. So Crash, so let's talk about those things. Let's talk about commitment. Nothing happens in life without a deep commitment, right? The end of the year is coming up. Everyone's going to set their New Year's resolutions, right? 2 common ones. I'm going to quit smoking and I'm going to lose weight. You hear those ones all the time, right? By the time Valentine's Day comes around, people are like, hey, pass the cheesecake and I'm going back out for a smoke, right? Because that commitment didn't start in the mind. Everything starts in the mind and follows. So you make that strong commitment. So when I was this type A, high energy, restless kid from Milford, Connecticut, I was hitting everything in sight. And my dad said, Rich, do you want to play the drums? Now, secretly, I think my dad wanted to play the drums. He was an accountant for 30 something years. But I think secretly he was living out some of his creative fantasies through his son. And my parents, my mom is a nurse, just barely retired. They loved having her so much. She was working in 2 cities, and she finally threw in the towel. I was so proud of her. Now she's busier than ever. She's in the wine making club, the martini making club, the dinner club. She works out 3 hours a day. She's in a line dance. I mean, she is so busy and so active. So my mom is my energy spirit hero. She's my muse. Anyways, my parents got me some drum lessons. I fell in love with this thing. Little did I know when I got that little blue sparkle snare drum that I had found my purpose in life. Now, some people go all the way through life without finding their purpose, so I count my blessings. I'm coming from a place of deep gratitude that I knew that by playing the drums, I would not only satisfy my soul, but I would be able to make a difference and impact people's lives. So I wrote down my purpose in life that I found along the way. My purpose is to affect people in a positive way and change lives. And some people will say, you're just a drummer, dude. You got a blue sparkle snare drum. You got some lessons. And then you got into this cool band without even having to audition. No. When you think about success and you see the tip of the iceberg, success is just the tip. Down below are miles and miles of doors being slammed in your face and roadblocks and just miles of the word no. And I think that if you want to do something in the creative arts or anything of value in life, you have to fall in love with rejection. And we'll talk about falling in love with rejection when I move to Nashville. But anyways, I practiced and practiced and practiced. I had a deep commitment. I wanted to get great at the drums. And if you've ever read the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point and Outliers, oh my God, he's an amazing author. I ran into him one night right over here, like a half a mile from here, and I really wanted to buy him a drink. I left him alone so he could have a nice peaceful evening, but I'm a super fan because you can read those books on a Southwest Airlines flight and come out a better person at the end of that book. But his theory is that anybody that's highly successful has put 10,000 hours minimum of applied effort to their craft. So we're talking Liberace, we're talking Bill Gates, we're talking anybody who's an expert at anything has put in 10,000 hours at least. I know that I put in tens and tens of thousands of hours. So if you do the math, that's like practicing 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 6.5 years. Piece of cake, right? So I, joined the 5th grade band. I learned how to read music, kept falling in love with things, and then I was lucky to grow up in the MTV era, and I just sat around and sat through the commercials in my underwear, eating my cereal every Saturday morning, waiting for Nina Blackwood, J.J. Jackson, Alan Hunter, and Martha Quinn to come on and introduce this band called The Police. I love this album called Synchronicity. And then 1 year later, in 1984, an album called 1984 came out from the Van Halen brothers. God rest Eddie's soul, his brother Alex, a highly underrated rock drummer. I fell in love with those 2 records. I said, this is what I'm going to do with my life, and I have not looked back. And it's been an amazing journey. But because I made that commitment, I didn't skyrocket out of a chute, but it was just one incremental gig leading to another handshake, leading to another recommendation, and doors were opened. And it just took time. And I'd like to still think that I'm going somewhere because I don't want to rot on the vine, right? If we're not growing and changing and evolving, we're rotting on the vine. And that's not how you make great wine or great music. So I'm always trying to push myself. So I made that commitment, got my lessons. I ended up going to the Texas Tech University and then the University of North Texas because my parents were like, look, if you're going to go into something as treacherous as the music business, the place where if you want to make $1 million, you start with 2. You start with 2 and you lose $1 million. Maybe let's get this kid some tools. And so for me, the tools were higher education. And in higher education, I learned about persistence and follow through and jumping through hoops that were on fire and saying yes sir and yes ma'am and time management and goal setting and seeing things all the way through to the end. And that really helped me along the way. And then I ended up getting a master's degree at the famed University of North Texas, and I played in this 1 o'clock lab band. We were playing like swing music and bebop music, and it was like essentially a professional performing band. And so then when I made the commitment to move to Nashville, well, I just started asking around. If there's something that you want to do in your life that you're passionate about, ask for help, ask for assistance. So I asked a friend of mine, Dan Nelson, he's a saxophone player. He's playing with this group called Soul Tsunami, saxophone player. I said, do you know anybody that's looking for a drummer on a national, regional, international level? Like, I want to tour. My goal is to hear myself on the radio, see myself on TV, and travel the world on someone else's dime. And that is not going to happen in Dallas, Texas, playing on Texas lottery jingles, teaching in the public schools, and playing in a hip top 40 band. That is not going to happen. I had hit my glass ceiling. So he got me an audition with Trisha Yearwood. Trisha Yearwood's people got me an audition with Dina Carter. Dina Carter's people got me an audition with Barbara Mandrell. And every audition, it came down to me and another guy that lived in Nashville. So after the third time, I learned you must be present to win. I gave my band 2 weeks notice in Dallas, Texas, and I went boldly into the night, and I moved to Nashville. I moved to Nashville on a Tuesday with a box of 400 cassette demos. Rich Redmond, drums and percussion. I was passing these things out like they were hot potatoes, and I got my first gig on a Saturday night in Nashville. I can still remember the individual. We're still friends to this day. He cracked the door for me, and I kicked it open. If somebody gives you an opportunity, you got to knock it out of the ballpark. That's your way of saying thank you for this opportunity. And he hired me for a band, Paul Ross and the Cadillacs. He is a rock and roll real estate guy here in Nashville. Will, you might even know him. And by the way, thank you, big hand to Will and Vinny for putting this ecosystem together. And we're the early adapters, right? So when this thing is like the biggest thing in the world, we can say, yeah, we were there. We were the first on the scene. So anyways, I forget what the heck I was talking about. We're talking about commitment. And so I ended up getting a gig on this Saturday night. And of course, I'm playing like salad music, and I'm playing Motown, and I'm playing YMCA, and everybody's biting their upper lip. But the guy was pleased, and he kept calling me, and he gave my name to another person because he saw that commitment. I have played the drums hungover, dehydrated, sick with the flu, jet lagged, and you know what? The show must go on, right? It's like Hollywood, and the drummer's got a very, very important job because the drummer, my name is not on the marquee, but if I can't ever mail in a performance because people will feel that in their guts, right? I have to always exceed expectations on a consistent basis, and that has been my business model, right? So I end up giving my band 2 weeks notice. I moved to Nashville. And because of this commitment to this instrument, this love affair with this instrument, this love affair with music, I've had fresh salmon in Newfoundland. I've had a Guinness in Ireland. I've had fish and chips in Ireland. I rode a camel in Dubai. I had kimchi in Korea and sushi in Japan. And it's just because of that commitment. So when you make a commitment to something, amazing things can happen in your life. All right. Let's talk about, and usually this is the part of my presentation when I'm doing a corporate keynote where I'll have one of the highest level people, sometimes it's the CEO of the company, and they'll come up and I'll ask them to show me their commitment. So I give them a pair of sticks, they sit behind the drums, and I have them count off a song. Like, we have these microphones for a reason, right? They're used to amplify the human voice. So if I want to just count off a song for my band, I could just into the microphone go 1, 2, 3. But no, I set the energy, I set the tone. The drummer is essentially like, my name is not on the marquee, but we are like the CEO, and the band is only as good as your drummer. So I scream into the microphone. Audio Technica hates me. I destroy microphones, right? So that's usually the time. We'll figure out how to do that in a virtual space. That's coming up, all right? So that's commitment, so important. Let's talk about relationships. The advice that I give, no matter what field you're in, is that I want to tell you that your job in life is to cultivate sincere, hopefully mutually beneficial, lifelong relationships. It's not always mutually beneficial, but that's the spirit of networking. And networking, it gets a bad rap, like, oh, it's a 4-letter word. However you want to describe it, you're going to need a clique. You're going to need a tribe. You're going to need a posse. You're going to need an ecosystem of like-minded people. And I moved to Nashville in 1997. I meet a young guitar player named Kurt Allison, still playing with him to this day, nearly 24 years later. 2 years into my Nashville journey, he introduces me to a guy named Tully Kennedy. Tully Kennedy is the band leader for an up-and-coming singer-songwriter named Jason Aldean, who was working at Pepsi but now has a Warner Chappell publishing deal, and he's trying to get a record deal. And his producer, Michael Knox, is championing him, is standing by his side. I end up joining the band, and we probably showcased, I don't know, it's a joke. We say, was it 40 times? It was every record label in town, and he played without the hat, with a baseball hat, with a steel, without a steel, with a fiddle, without a fiddle, fiddle and steel. We did it acoustic. Sometimes we even stocked the audience with like hot models to make the suits go, wow, this guy's got a serious draw. But the effort paid off. Jason got a record deal in 2004. We recorded that song, Hicktown. It took 8 months to get up the charts, and we went out there and we took the music to the people. We had something to prove, and we were birds of a feather. If I can give you any advice in life, is if you want to accomplish great things, you can do more in a team. So find those like-minded individuals, find your true believers, find those people that have a laser focus. I mean, I have a vision for my future. I had a focus. It was like a laser. And everything I've done in my life has been very methodical. Thank God I met those young men that changed my life. And now fast forward, we're coming up on 21 years of working together. That's 5 presidencies. Wives have come and gone. Girlfriends have come and gone. Clothing styles have come and gone. Hairstyles have come and gone. We are still deeply committed to each other. We honor and cultivate this relationship. We don't take it for granted. And we are a family. I see these guys more than any of my blood brothers, my parents, any of my ex-wives. You know, I'm lucky that I get to spend so much time right now in this pandemic with the new woman in my life, right? But if I was on the road, it wouldn't be the case. And talk about pets. I kill cactus. I'd love to have a dog or a cat. But my suitcase has literally been packed for 20 years, sitting in the corner, calling to me, Rich, when are we going out again, right? And I don't mind it. You know, the road's not for the faint of heart. I love it, all right? So relationships, I've never gotten a job from an audition. Really, the only time really I got an audition, job for an audition was the great Pam Tillis. It was the first marquee job I had in Nashville. I had a guy that was like, here, Mr. Redmond, your water's cold, and he'd crack the top for me, and he would set up and tear down my drums, and it was like, what is happening? It was the first time I got to experience that. But like most things, the music business, and like most careers, it's like a roller coaster. There's extreme highs and there's extreme lows. When you're in the lows, you need to just maintain that commitment. Look at the low that we're in right now. We want to accentuate the positive. So in this last 7 months, I'm studying acting. I'm working on a TEDx talk. I'm making sure that all my assets and my promotional materials are completely up to date. I get the sticks in my hands every day. I fly from Los Angeles to Nashville in a shield, 2 masks, and gloves so I can play with my friends and record. And so the commitment has to be deep, and we cultivate that relationship. So this is my challenge to you. Find your birds of a feather. Find your like-minded individuals, because let's face it, in this world, we want to do the 3 C's. We want to connect, we want to communicate, we want to collaborate, right? So in something like this, as a virtual space, we can connect with each other, right? Ultimately, we want, down the line, we want to collaborate and communicate to create something in the creative space together that we can be proud of. Here's what never happens. Most people at a cocktail function, they'll have 2 cocktails. The business cards come out and they say, I'll call you tomorrow. They never do. People, you gotta follow up and be the first person to follow up. This is basic stuff. Like all the stuff we learned in kindergarten is where I kind of like to hover. And I just kind of like to remind people that people are the gatekeepers of life. They are the key to life, right? And so follow up. And let's talk about social media. There's a lot of people that are like, I wouldn't be caught dead on social media. And now if they watch the documentary Social Dilemma, I get it. I took a 10-day break from Instagram after watching that sucker, but it's the world we're living in. If a trash pickup company has a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and they can figure out a way to make trash sexy, then whatever creative space you're in, there's no excuse for you not to be on there. Because if you're not on there, you're not using the free tools that exist in the world to separate you from the masses, okay? So always figure out a way to somehow separate yourself from the masses, and maybe find your 1,000 true fans. Now, that is not an original idea, but if you can find 1,000 true fans that will buy one product from you every year at $100, guess what your income is going to be? You're going to be doing pretty well, all right? And you only have to have 1,000 true fans. So get out there and find those true believers. And people have always made a difference in my life. Let me see, 6 years ago, I was at the Drum Channel in Oxnard, California. It's like this TV facility where drummers come in, world-class drummers come in, and there's jibs, and it's beautiful, the lighting. and I was recording some lessons, and the cameraman says, "Rich, have you ever thought about being an actor?" And I said, "What? Yes, man. I've seen every episode of Three's Company, and I don't have to be Jack Tripper. I can be Larry. I can be the guy that comes in and just borrows $10 and talks about the girl he went out with last night. I don't have to be the star. I just have to be a cog in the wheel." That sounds like fun to me, right? It's always been like a career fantasy. He goes, "Well, I got this horror movie. I got about $500,000, and you're going to be Lieutenant Paxton." And I said, "I am going to be Lieutenant Paxton." And so I got my lines, I got a coach, I got my wardrobe, I go to set, I'm prepared. The other actors are like, "What's your next job? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm a drummer, man. This is my first job." They're like, "You gotta do this." So Jose Altanega changed my life. He cracked the door for me, and since then I've kicked the door open. And in 5 years, 5 short years for an actor, I got my SAG card, and I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, and I'm proud of that. So I'm in the game, and I'm working towards new goals and new things. Okay, let's talk about attitude. Now, why does every motivational speaker on the frickin' planet talk about attitude? It is such a worn-out topic. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because it's 99% of life. When I walk into a room, people are expecting your skill set to be extremely high. They're expecting you, hopefully, to be a nice person, right? They're expecting you to just be incredibly good at what you do. That's why they hired you, right? But how do you level the playing field? How do you separate yourself from the masses? It's attitude. Attitude is the one thing people will remember about you always, without fail. Attitude is the one thing people will remember about you. So if I pull up to the curb in some fancy Italian car, Italian shoes, Swiss watch, fitted suit, they may go, "Oh, good dresser, maybe he's got some expendable income, maybe I want to know this guy," right? They'll forget about that the next day, but what they always remember was your attitude and the experience that you had together, right? How you treated that person. And I learned over the years that enthusiasm is contagious, and I haven't put it through beakers and test tubes. There's no footnotes. I haven't done a scientific study on it. I just know that enthusiasm is contagious, and you can change the energy in a room by bringing enthusiasm. And I know there was periods of my Nashville journey for 8 years where I'd record a 10 a.m. session, a 2 p.m. session, a 6 p.m. session. You're scrounging around, running around to studios, trying to get some food in your face. And I was averaging, I think my record for recording songs in the Nashville music machinery was working for Mr. Keith Follazay, and we did 21 songs in a day. And that's like bringing your A game, exceeding expectations. But why was I there? Why would people continue to call me over the other amazing 40 world-class drummers in Nashville? Maybe they enjoyed spending time with me. Maybe that they enjoyed my personality, my people skills, and my presence. Those are three things that you can use to level the playing field. I play my personality on my instrument. I bring a presence. You know, I'll take my phone, boom. Unless there's a fire, boom, I will try to put that thing face down in a creative environment. I don't even look at it, right? I did this, I played a cop on this show called Happy on the Sci-Fi Channel, and all the other actors had their cell phones out, and you know, a lot of them were self-managed, so they're looking for their next job. I didn't pick up that phone for 8 hours. I shut it off. The only thing I was focused on was exceeding expectations and doing a good job so that the people on set, from the director to the producer to the set designer, all go, "Professional dude, showed up with his A game and he wasn't distracted." So that's kind of something to think of. But attitude is so important. And, you know, you can use, like I tell people, I like to stay in the land of unicorns and rainbows. Now, of course, I'll have a bad day. I can wake up on the wrong side of the bed, but there's tools you can use to change the channel and get your mindset back into a nice creative flow and a happy place in the land of unicorns and rainbows. And that is, well, I like to watch the movie Rocky. Dum dum da da dum da da dum da da da. I also love to, you know, he's got the one-handed push-ups, he's doing the egg whites, he's running with the dog, he's hitting the meat. Another movie that is crazy, I don't know why people would think that it's a positive film because it's so dark, but Ridley Scott's Alien, we're talking everything is gloomy and dark, and the music, William Goldsmith's gorgeous, you know, score, and there's a guy in a suit, he's, you know, dripping, and he's just, you know, and it's like paper mache, no CGI. I think it's a work of art. So that makes me happy, right? Maybe I'll go have a glass of wine with a nice like-minded person will go be barstool philosophers, right? Or I can read positive literature, right? Or I can get some exercise. Like when you get some exercise, even if it's just a 10-minute walk, you're going to come back, you're going to be dripping in sweat, you're going to look in the mirror, you're going to seem a foot taller, you're going to see yourself differently, you're going to see the world differently. So I have this Nike running app. I have ran 520 miles in COVID. And then I get next to my bed and I do a little prison workout. You know, you just using your body weight, just move, just sweat, just release those toxins, right? It's gonna make you a happier person. And you know, usually I have a tambourine. I don't have a tambourine with me, but just pretend there's a tambourine, right? So I collect these things. Now I remember this particular session with Trace Adkins. I'm like hitting the tambourine. He's like he's got a big presence, right? But he's like a teddy bear. He's like, now, Rich, I want you to hit that tambourine on beat 4, right? So, okay. Every other measure. Now every measure. Pre-chorus. Right? Now shake it, Rich. Now, not only does my mom get to hear me on the radio and go, Richie, I heard you on the radio station in Florida and the tambourine's really hot in the mix, right? Because I show up and I've got this attitude, this positivity, I have a good sounding instrument. There's other people that are literally waiting for the phone to ring because they're just drummers, but I'm a percussionist. Anything you could beat, scrape, rattle, shake, I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna record it, and I'm gonna get paid. And those other drummers are sitting home waiting for the telephone to ring, and I'm just doing this. $100, $200, $300. Every strike, I'm making money, right? So attitude, when you bring your attitude A game, it levels the playing field. Enthusiasm is contagious. And, you know, I would say that, you know, attitude is really, and happiness. Just let's talk about the idea of happiness. I did a speech over at Stanford University called Happiness Rocks. It was a real honor. I got inducted into the Happiness Hall of Fame with people like, oh God, Sugar Ray Leonard and Dolly Parton. And then here's this drummer, right? Here's this drummer dude that gets inducted into this cool institution. And so I got to do a speech. So I'm talking about how we can use our senses to stay happy, right? Because our family upbringing and our DNA really only account for 50% of our happiness, so the rest is on us. So let me tell you about the senses. I try to tap into taste, right? I think about taste, and I think about my grandmother's hot buttered Portuguese rolls. I was kind of like a roly-poly little kid, but I'd be climbing trees and I'd be on my skateboard and she'd be like, Richie, I have a hot buttered Portuguese. This just makes me happy. So I bring up that memory and I can reset the channel. Or maybe I can think about touch, maybe my lover's embrace, right? My new lover's embrace, or the smell of my mom's pasta sauce. I mean, this is a family tradition. I got to get this recipe from my mom. And when I smell that smell, it makes me think of family for the holidays, right? And I know so many of us are, you know, we're planning is everybody going to get tested? Are we going to be able to hug this out over some turkey? And so that makes me happy. Or the sight of waves crashing on a sun-kissed beach, palm trees swaying in the breeze. That makes me happy. Or the sound of my drums. If I want to just reset the channel, I can play my drums. And I know that makes me happy and it makes other people happy. Okay, let's talk about skills. I tell everyone, no matter what line of work they are in, that they need to identify and master the skills you need to be successful in your chosen field, right? And we never essentially want to become the fat Elvis, right? We want to continue to learn new skills because the world is moving so fast. We essentially have to run just to stand still. So I say to myself, okay, I'm a drummer, but what are some other things I could do to create other revenue streams for myself? And I wrote some of this stuff down, and these are related skills. I want to kind of just share this stuff with you guys and gals. But, okay, so I can teach, okay? I can just be the guy that just rides the tour bus and calls it good, right? Hang my hat and just hope for the best. But no, I could teach in person. I could teach online. I am now an instructor at the Drummers Collective in New York City and the Musicians Institute in Hollywood. So I'm teaching. So I have that educational background. That's right in the line of education. I've written some books and some training programs. I've helped create products with music manufacturers. Now I am consulting for music companies and tech companies, which only requires a certain number of hours a day. And then on the entertainment side of things, I can tour, I can record. Now I can record on Music Row, I can record in commercial studios in Los Angeles, so 2 cities. I can record in my own studio in Nashville and a friend's studio in Los Angeles where I pay him for his time to let me use his studio. Then I said, okay, I've been doing a lot of speaking and teaching. I think the line between teaching, speaking, hosting, voiceover, and acting is wafer thin. I said, let me expand my skill set there. Let me go take lessons. So I took an improv comedy class. I put a voice acting reel together. I got my SAG card. I'm studying acting. So I'm moving that thing forward. So more ways to have revenue and to be creative and be paid for it, right? In an ever-changing world. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to put a podcast together. And just from committing to that, in under a year, I'm looking at 100 episodes. So the Rich Redmond Show on all platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube. I'm talking to comedians, actors, authors, thought leaders, musicians, super producers, songwriters, a lot of drummers. I know a lot of drummers, and drummers are beautiful people, man. We have this amazing fraternity that is a very, very special thing. Okay, so developing new skill sets so you don't rot on the vine. And since I developed those early skill sets, like just a skill like reading music, putting the time into that, I was able to essentially be a hero for my organization and for all of our opening acts organizations. Over the years, we would have people open for us. And guys like Luke Bryan and Tyler Farr and Thomas Rhett and Thompson Square, the drummers would get sick. They'd have to go to a funeral. They'd have to get married, or they would hurt themselves. And then an hour before the show, it'd be like, knock, knock, knock on the dressing room door. Redmond, drummer in Thompson Square broke his foot, and you're on in an hour. So because I could read music, I could almost go out there, change my outfit, play a different set of drums, and be a character actor and be the drummer for Thompson Square. And no one in that 10,000 audience, all those, they don't know, right? So I'm out there and I got to save the day. And that's from developing a specific skill set, okay? And every day is a new opportunity for us to sharpen our skills, and they are never sharp enough. So keep that in mind. And I will close this talk about my crash concept for success with the idea of hunger. Now, a lot of people, even my co-author, when I wrote the book, said, yes, you can be committed, you can cultivate relationships, you can have a positive, flexible attitude because happy, positive people have more friends, they live longer, they make more money, okay? So why not live in the land of unicorns and rainbows? Or developing your skill. He says, I think the most important thing is potentially the idea of hunger, because it's something that you're missing. It's something that you deeply desire. So maybe everything starts there. There's a fire that burns in my belly to be successful, and I want to continue to stoke those flames, right? So I tap into that inner child, the 8-year-old with the blue sparkle snare drum, the 13-year-old with the cherry red Yamaha stage custom drum set, and every day after school, envisioning me playing Madison Square Garden. I didn't play Madison Square Garden when I was 21. I played Madison Square Garden when I was 41. And that's 20 years of people saying no and me falling in love with rejection and continuing to move forward. Whatever you want to do in life, do not stop, because then you're back at the end of the line, right? Even if your growth is just incremental and almost unnoticeable, just keep climbing the roller coaster to your dreams and your desires and your goals, and you will achieve them. Just do not stop, okay? This idea that there's a fire in my belly. And so when I talk to corporations, I talk to them sometimes about hiring people. Hire those people that have those flames of desire, the flames of hunger to be successful in burning in their belly. Now, say what you want. I like to go to mom and pop coffee houses, but Starbucks, when I'm on the road, is literally the only consistency in my life. It's the only cool little thing I can look at that's the same every single day. Look at that business model. When I walk into that place, yeah, I'm going to pay $5 for a coffee, but I'm not really paying $5 for a coffee. I'm paying $5 for a cool ecosystem like the Spark. It makes me feel good. And the product is massively consistent. How do they get those muffins and sandwiches to taste the same in Dubai as they do in Smyrna? I want to know about that. But many ways, the person behind the counter is a people person. They say hello, they look me in the eyes, and they usually get my name right. Mitch. Sometimes I'll get Mitch, but I'll answer to Mitch because the product is so consistent. All right. So I'll leave you with this. Passion is your engine and hard work is your fuel. You fuel that engine with hard work. Now, if you've chosen your line of work, the thing that you're passionate about, that gets you out of bed every day correctly, that thing that makes you happy, hard work doesn't feel like hard work. Right? And when it doesn't feel like hard work, you end up working harder, which becomes a cycle of self-empowerment, and you bring more opportunities and successes to yourself. So that's Crash. It'll work for a bass player. Any bass players in the audience? It'll work for a bass player, my bass player jokes. It'll work for a soccer mom. It'll work for the next person that wants to walk the moon, join the space program, be the next Tom Cruise. You can do it using Crash. It's worked for me. So I hope that's something you guys can take with you. Commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. I'd love you can pick up the book. The Christmas buying season is upon us. And I'll probably open it up to questions, but I just want to let you guys know I live in the land of unicorns and rainbows. I want to collaborate with you. I want to be able to do great things, finish your goals, help you achieve your dreams. And I can do that by playing drums for you. I can do that by teaching someone drums in your life. We can co-write songs. I produced 3 #1 songs, a group called Thompson Square and Parmalee. We can get into that game. You can hire me as a speaker, and some of my clients include people like Cisco, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, but also big pharma and farming and tech startups and mom and pop businesses. So if you call me to speak, I'm going to come running. All right, so thank you guys so much. Let's connect on the socials, and let's keep coming back to the Spark. I think this is an incredible opportunity for people to connect and collaborate and interact during these unprecedented times. You guys have heard that one before. So I wish you guys all the best. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Wear your mask. I don't want to get political, but hey, it's just a great way to kill this thing. Let's nip this thing in the bud. All right, thank you guys so much for having me. And any questions, you can raise your hand. There's this Ellen, how are you? What's your question?
Hello. Thank you so much, first of all, for the wonderful talk. I appreciate
Thank you.
that. I know that people think that originally, eventually we'll all return to live, but it may be another year because of the pandemic. But the situation that I'm faced with is that I have lifelong autoimmune disease, and so I actually can't take the risk of being live in person for quite a long time. So what's the best way to really thrive virtually right now if it's somebody like myself who can't really be thinking about live events anytime soon?
And real quick, Rich, before you answer, I had to mute you for the slapback, so push your #1 button to talk back so the echo's knocked out.
Okay, so great question, Alan. I'm pushing my #1 on my laptop, and it's like a walkie-talkie. So this is great. Good job on designing this thing, guys. I feel like I'm in a video game, but I need some weapons. And where's the boss? Where are the monsters and zombies? I'm looking for those. So I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for you to be thinking about a future business model that can be completely online. I know that a lot of my fellow speakers were panicking in the early days of this pandemic. So we're talking like March and April, and we're thinking, oh, maybe this will be gone in July and we can get back to things. I just lost 3 months of work. But you can immediately, like, look at me. I am in a condo in West Hollywood, California. I have a ring light that's maybe $40, right? And you could also mount your iPhone or your iPad on it and always have good lighting. I have a backdrop from IKEA, and I have a cute little lapel mic from Samson Industries. And of course, there's a lot of manufacturers out there. not a big investment here, right? And so you send your clothes out for dry cleaning, right? And you're in business and you're in it. And so then it comes down to the marketing. How are you going to find your audience? And I know that in the speaking realm, it all comes down to two things. Your own personal hustle, because no one is going to out hustle you. No one is going to believe in you like you. So even when people get a team together, they got like this land of 10 percenters. They've got the business manager, the day-to-day manager, the road manager, the publicist, and everyone's bleeding money. You still have to hustle and work on your behalf. So what I would do is to let all your contacts know that, look, I am set up to do this thing virtually. It's flawless. I got lightning speed Wi-Fi. My messaging is exactly the same. When I do things, I might have, I mix in my drumming performances. So I have a talk play format. So usually that video would run, I'd come running out, play the drums, then talk about commitment. Play a song, talk about relationships, because people have they can't pay attention, right? And so we hit them with a right hook of the drums and then messaging, right? So I now can pre-record some of those elements and just share my screen, or I can send them to the event organizer and they can run them from their end of things. Maybe you expand your model and you do some hosting. Now, people sometimes, like speakers, sometimes are not comfortable hosting, but if you do your research and you say, okay, what's this going to involve? Am I going to have to riff and ad lib and tell all the latest jokes? Or am I just introing different people and different speakers and keeping the energy going? So if you can tell people in your world that you're not only a keynote speaker with a customizable message for that client, that you're also willing to panel moderate, MC, host, do the voiceover for the event. You want to provide value for the client and separate yourself from the other person. And then you want to have state-of-the-art assets. I think, you know, your website and your LinkedIn page are your front door of your business. And then it just comes the hustle of like literally reaching out to everyone in your network, asking for help. Does anyone need a speaker? Now, I will say this, some people are getting full price, but as a general rule, for whatever reason, a lot of speakers are working now at half price because the hosts are saying, well, you're not in person. But guess what? They're saving money on travel, lodging, and a drum set rental. So I'm always going to push for full price because the messaging is exactly the same. And we're sharing, this information that I'm sharing comes from the sweat of my brow and comes from pain and comes from pleasure. There's a lot of things that went into this story. So another thing you could do is create evergreen online products. So I have a product called Drumming in the Modern World, drumminginthemodernworld.com, and basically I spent my retirement filming this thing, and you know, I spared no expense, and it'll be around forever. And if people go to drumminginthemodernworld.com, they pay one price and they could stream this product to any device for the rest of their lives. So maybe model some people that are doing all online things, webinars, evergreen products, training courses, online consulting, where you can essentially be a business coach or a life coach. I'm a music industry coach, so people will reach out to me via lessonsquad.com, and a band can come to me and say, look at our pictures, look at our EPK, listen to our music. And over that hour consultation, I can say, change this, alter this, make this better, go back into the studio, re-record this, move to Nashville. You know, I can coach them, and you could be anywhere in the world and do this. So I hope that helps. The hustle doesn't change. It's just, you're just changing the medium in which you do things, and the barrier of entry is pretty low. So I would just say, get on it, get your materials together, and then let the world know that you are doing virtual events and shout it from a mountaintop. I hope that helps.
Thank
Tina,
you very much.
how are you? Am I supposed to be hearing Tina? Tina has a question. Oh, hey, how are you?
This is Tina Marie.
Hi.
Unfortunately, I'm not the Tina Marie.
It's funny, right?
I know. I do have a question about branding for you. You have done a great job branding yourself.
Well, thank you so much.
How important is branding, and can you recommend a few things to do to start that process?
Well, I have a reputation in Nashville. I have a dear friend of mine, and he calls me a promosexual. And I just laugh and I take it as a compliment because I'm always letting the world know that I'm doing something, right? And it's like the people that post once a day a picture of an avocado or their cereal. They just let you know what they're up to. And 90% of the people in the world are not going to care. I'm just looking for that. 99% are not going to care. I'm looking for that 1% of true believers. And I don't know, I think deep down, if I wasn't a drummer or an actor or a creative, I would probably be in marketing. You know, it just feels right to me. I love being able to share a message and have it reach a wide audience. I mean, it goes back to the dawn of man that, you know, using fire for communication, using drums for communication. I mean, before we even opened our mouths, we took bones and animal hides and you know, spread them out over logs, and this is how we were communicating. So it goes way back, but I think I just did it. I just had this fire, this gumption. It's like, look, if I'm going to play this instrument, I want to be in the club. I want to be in those guys that are on the cover of Modern Drummer magazine. I want to be one of the 25 to 40 drummers in Nashville that are going to get the call to play on something. I want people to come to a show and say, oh, isn't Rich on drums tonight? Or have someone listen to a song on the radio and go, man, I could tell within 5 seconds it was you. These are some things that I've heard over the years. And I was like, wow, I guess it works. Like just being consistent in putting your messaging out there. So I'm relatively squeaky clean because my audience is part children. Like I wrote a book called Fundamentals of Drumming for Kids. And so I'm teaching children, I'm speaking to adults, some of which who behave like children, but it's the idea of just, you know, when you go to Walgreens and you want to get an ear cleaning device, there's a bunch of no-name brands, and then there's the Q-tip, right? And then when you go to the vending machine and you want to get a cola, well, you can get cola or you can get Coke, right? And so I just want to be the Coke of drummers. I want to have something that people will remember me by. And there's little tricks. Like one of my heroes growing up was this guy named Kenny Aronoff. I just had him on my podcast yesterday. His episode will be coming out. But he would take his little 10-inch tom that's usually on the left of the drum, to the left of the drum, and he would put it over on the right side. And he still does it. So when anybody comes to see the show, they go, oh my God, I only know one person in the world that does that. Kenny's playing drums tonight. Or the drummer on Saturday Night Live, Sean Pelton. When we played Saturday Night Live after the Vegas event, I got to meet Sean, and he came up and gave me a big bear hug, and everybody knows him instantly because he wears a beret, or he wears some crazy outfit, purple. Like he's an extreme forward-thinking fashion guy, right? So people will recognize him right away. So just think about people that you aspire to or you model yourself out after. You could take something from them, you can borrow from them, you could twist it, you could change it. And it all goes down to even like colors, like human psychology. Like everything I do is red and black with a splash of white or marble. So all very masculine colors. So think about that, how you want to present yourself to the world, and be super careful because everything that comes out of your mouth, everything you put on the internet, it lasts forever. So, you know, just be careful about it. Read all the books on the subject that you possibly can. And if you have haters, you're doing something right. And so if you just go to my YouTube channel, there's 500 videos on there, and there's a lot of hate. And I just read the hate and I say, that's okay, because this is a guy who owns a set of drums and is playing in his mom's basement right now. Didn't have the gumption, the fire, the persistence, the determination to move to a music city like Nashville. Because let's face it, Nashville, blood is in the water, sharks are in the water, and if you want to achieve your dreams and conquer that fear, it's on the other side of fear. You have to jump headfirst into the blood, the bloody water, and you just jump in, right? So I hope you do that. I hope you do that. Somebody tells me you will.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
I see a question in the chat.
Michael!
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
What's up, Michael Carter? How are you, man? Michael may have put his hand down.
I do see a question in the chat if you want to look at that one from Frank.
Okay, I think I'm on now. I'll let you do the chat first.
And you're still muted, Rich, so hit that one button.
Okay, I'm reading out loud here. So I look like an old guy staring into the. How does this work? How do I log into my Hulu account? So I see things from Deborah. Press tab to toggle. I'm trying to read.
Click on public. There's two tabs probably.
Oh,
click on the one that says public.
Okay. It's just, maybe I can open this up and read it easier. There, that works great. So who am I reading this question from? There's Deborah. There's Frank. Frank, Frank says, what have you found are some of the hardest obstacles to overcome on a consistent basis in the music industry? You're amazing. Oh, thanks. I love getting that shot on the arm of positivity in the morning. People love compliments, right? They love hearing their name. They love a firm handshake. And if you're at a cocktail party, try to give your full attention to the person you're talking to. This is that kindergarten stuff I like to talk about that people forget. Okay, so okay, here we go. So Frank, I'm coming to you with the information. What have you found are some of the hardest obstacles to overcome on a consistent basis? Well, like I said, there are no rules, right? And it's an ever-changing game. I mean, let's face it. I feel like even before COVID hit, the music industry is a little bit, it's on its knees. And it goes all the way back to Lars Ulrich and the file sharing. And then before you know it, we have Pandora and Spotify. And so anything that you can, back in the day, the velvet rope days of the music industry, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where their money was just flowing and there was career development and bands would be allowed to develop and they could put out several records before man, if you put out a single now that bombs, you're done. It's such a crazy, crazy world we're living in. You have to come with the goods. And so, Frank, I don't know if you're a recording artist or if you're a songwriter, but the game has changed. You have something like Spotify. You look at someone like Lady Gaga. She had that Poker Face song, right? It was on the radio every 60 seconds. She got her check from Spotify, and you're only getting 0.0001% of a penny for every spin. So even with millions and millions of spins, she might get a check that's laughable, right? So every game has been affected. Back in the day when you could be a producer and get paid on the front end and get paid on the back end, that doesn't exist anymore because most recording artists aren't recouping. So if you're a professional producer, you have to tell the artist, look, I'm going to sweat blood for you. I'm going to give you 24 hours a day to help you create a sonic brand, like something we did with Thompson Square and Parmalee. We're literally 20 hours a day figuring out how to separate their sonic identities from the masses. And you have to get your money up front because most artists are not going to recoup. And if you're a songwriter, a number one song that you co-wrote with two other guys, you could still make $500,000. I don't think it's happening anymore. And there's a ceiling on the amount of money you can make as a touring musician. And to be a recording musician nowadays, you can't do just that anymore. Most session musicians I know are also composing for TV and film, songwriting, producing, creating sound-alikes. Maybe they have a side hustle. Like great music business side hustles are real estate. Like talk to Will. I got a friend in California who's a rock and roll real estate guy, and the real estate is so expensive here. You sell one house and your commission's $50K, and you could float on that for a while. And there used to be a lot of guilt, and I don't know, that people were like, I don't want to let the world know that I have a side hustle because that tells them that I'm not doing as well as I could be in my chosen field. Cut yourself some slack. The music business is a rough place. So to me, I think that you can do a lot of things and have that be part of your brand. And in all honesty, I did just the drums for like 20 years. Like I had a laser focus on that. And once I got undeniable on that is when I started to grow and change and expand into some other things. Kids nowadays that I teach at these colleges, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what the future of the music business is. I do know that if you want to make the same amount of money you would make in the 70s and 80s and 90s, you might have to wear 5 hats. And not only can you be a jack of all trades, master of One, you have to be a jack of all trades, master of all. And that just means your 8-hour day went to an 18-hour day. And that's just what you're going to have to do to survive. So I hope that helps. Jay has a question. What's up, Jay? What's up, Jay?
Hi, Rich. How's it going, mate?
Great, man.
Good speech. Good speech, man. That was cool. Inspiring. I'm a drummer as well. I'm from Liverpool in the UK. I'm in a band, but with Little Triggers. Tom's in here as well. He was the guitarist. Sure, he enjoyed the speech too. But as like you're saying, you need to go into sort of more avenues and stuff to try and survive as a musician. So what I know might be a bit of a broad question, but what would be a good avenue for me as a drummer to try and focus on getting some more like paid work with original artists and stuff that you could maybe recommend?
Sure, man. Great question. Well, thank you for coming. And I recognized the Ringo accent right away, man. I was like, that sounds like Ringo Starr. So I guess there are some different vernaculars in England. So I just heard it right away. So anyways, I would say I don't know how old you are, but it sounds like you're in an original project. And this is the interesting thing about playing. There's two ways to go as an instrumentalist in this business, and that's you can do the all for one for all thing, which is like I'm in a band and I'm going to stick this out and it's strength in numbers and we're going to make this thing happen. And then when that thing hits, the payout is way big because you're making money at the box office, you're making money on publishing, you're making money on t-shirt sales. That's fantastic. That's how you get a castle. That's when you're in U2, you're in the Police. That's the jam. It's interesting. A lot of the guys that I went to college with, the Jim Rileys, the Jason Sutters, all these guys that are just like so overqualified on their instrument, they can play any style, they can read music, they can play with click tracks, they can double on classical and Latin percussion. We end up being side guys because it's just the work is always there because we say, oh, blues gig? Yeah, I can do the blues gig. Reggae gig? Sure. And even if I couldn't do the reggae gig, I would say yes. And then I would download Bob Marley's greatest hits and I would figure it out and I would go do the job, right? And that's how you cultivate a reputation. And, I've been doing this for so long as a sideman. So I will tell you as a sideman, and you can go down both avenues at the same time. You could be cultivating and nurturing that thing with your original band, right? And then when you're home, you could be doing session work. You could drive to London, try to do session work, or you can have a home space. I mean, if you're an instrumentalist right now and you don't have a place to send files to people, you're again behind. And the level of entry, the barrier of entry is low. You need a room big enough to hold a drum set, at least maybe 7.5-foot ceilings. You put Auralex on the wall. You get a MacBook Pro. You get a couple of microphones. They can even be SM57s. They're $99. You learn a DAW, and you're in business, right? But who's going to hire you to play in your home studio unless you have the relationships with the producers, songwriters, and bands and artists that will hire you to do that, right? So another thing I did along the way while I was helping build Jason's career, I helped build his career while I was getting a paycheck the whole time. And that's the beauty of being a sideman, is that during the days before sound check, I would go do speeches, I would do master classes, I would do clinics, I would do corporate events. I wasn't just sitting around, playing PlayStation on the bus. Like every day I was doing something to try to push my own thing forward. And it took a long time. So I think that you can teach lessons online and in person, one-on-one and in groups. You can go after being a recording drummer in your country or in the States, if you can do that as well, and then have a home recording setup where you can go after things. And so there's like 3 or 4 different revenue streams for you while you're surviving playing in your original band. And I'm assuming if you're in an original band that's like just starting out, you're playing the pizza parlor, right? You're playing the bowling alley. You're playing I mean, in the early days for us, we played the Ham and Yam Festival and the Blueberry Festival and the Strawberry Festival and the Seafood Festival, and you're like, oh my God. But you just keep doing it, and then eventually something will catch fire. But look me up on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. We can have we can keep a dialogue going, man. But I wish the best for you, man. And I'll just tell you, it's incredible. It's extremely possible to bring those goals and dreams that you have in your life to fruition. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, man, nice one. It's a grind.
We love the grind. You know, we just face it with a smile on our face.
Exactly, man. Yeah, I'll give you a follow on Instagram. Thanks very much.
It looks like I may. Oh, we got some more. I don't know if there's any more questions. I was supposed to do 30 minutes. We're at an hour, and it was amazing. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Will and Vinny. Thank you guys for coming and test driving this ecosystem. I think you should tell a friend, and things are going to just keep catching fire. And I'm so happy to have been invited to these early days here. Keep in touch with me on the socials and richredmond.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy holidays.
Awesome. We love you, Rich. Thank you so much, man. Awesome job. And as always, man, you're such an amazing cat. Just so everybody knows too, I put in the chat, so make sure you grab it, the richredmond.com website. Click on that, save that, take that, and go. I mean, really, he's done a great job of putting everything in one spot. So you can really, on his upper menu, you want to see what he does as an author, as a speaker, as a podcaster. Check out his podcast. It's amazing. Really, anything Rich does, just check it out. I love it, and there's tons to be learned. And again, thank you so much, brother, man. Appreciate you big time.
Thank you guys so much.